Hi, this is Dan, and welcome to this mindfulness meditation. You might have thought, maybe now or at a point in the past, that meditation was all about getting rid of thoughts that you don't like, or being able to escape the thoughts that seem to trouble you. But in fact, when we look at thoughts clearly, we see that we don't know when the next thought is going to appear. And not only that, we can't predict what that thought is going to be about. We have absolutely no idea when or what our next thought will be. So how do we think that we're going to be able to stop them coming? What tends to happen is that people get good at concentration, and by force of willpower they're able to hold off thoughts. But at some point your concentration will always slip, and as soon as it does, a thought will come back in and our attention will become stuck to it. So in this meditation, we take a totally different approach. We stop being afraid of the thoughts that we don't like, and we stop imagining that we are inherently tangled up with those thoughts. We're going to look at them directly, and we're also going to look at the fact that we have no idea when they'll come or what their content will be. That might seem like a really odd idea for a meditation, but if you just try it out, I think you'll be surprised at how effective it is. So make sure you're as comfy as you can be. And there may already be thoughts that are present, but you seem to be sort of over stuck to. Almost as if you decided, okay, it's time to settle now. But there are already some thoughts here that are quite sticky. So just notice that. But then just take these first few moments to just ground ourselves down. So when I say ground ourselves, I'm just meaning settle or still or calm. And we might do that just by following our breath for a couple of minutes. If you're not a big fan of following the breath, you might just follow my voice. But slowly might feel as if you, or whatever it is that you're identifying as you, feeling that you are, is just sinking deeper, leaving behind the more superficial distractions. And if we just try to rest here, you might feel as if there's a bit of a blank canvas that stuff just keeps appearing on. And by stuff, I mean sounds, sensations, thoughts, and mental activity. You might even be able to take the approach of imagining that there's a big screen, and on that screen, experiences are projected. Everything that the experience knows or experiences is projected on that screen. So see if it's possible to take the standpoint of the one that is viewing that screen. Absolutely everything in your awareness appears on that screen. Now, if you're like me, and I'm not suggesting you are, but you might be, then every now and then it feels as if the thoughts or the mental activity somehow appear behind you or somewhere else that isn't on that screen. Like a thought appears, and rather than me seeing that it is just another experience, it doesn't seem as if it appears on that screen. It appears as if it's either behind me or to the side of me or inside of me. It feels as if I'm much more closely associated with the thought than with these other things appearing. If that happens, just notice what's going on. You might see very clearly that the thought isn't known anywhere else than the other experiences are known. They're all known in the same place, or maybe it's not a place. But they're certainly not known in different locations. In other words, a sound is known in the same place as a thought is known. But we get this sense that the thoughts creep up or creep in. That's just a perception or an over-identification. So the first thing we're going to try today to see if we can actually locate these thoughts. Be very attentive, waiting patiently for a thought to appear. And when one does finally appear, take it as if it's an exhibit at a museum. Where is it? Where are you observing this thought? Does it feel as if it's all happening inside your head? Or are you just projecting that idea? You've never experienced the inside of your head. So it's quite a jump to imagine that the observer and the thought being observed are somehow trapped in there. Is there something inherently sticky about this thought that you can't just blow it away or let it pass? And can you just become the observer again, just patiently waiting for the next thought to appear? Do you have any idea what that's going to be? Or is it a complete mystery? If these are your thoughts, you should be able to know exactly what they're going to be. And if you don't know what they're going to be, then that really throws into doubt whether they are my thoughts, whether they are just experiences that arise like noises. And really, when we notice something that seems to be a thought that sticks around, it's really just an ongoing series of tiny microscopic thoughts. A bit like frames on a film. When we view all of those frames in series quickly, it looks like the film is one continuous thing, but actually it's just a series of still images. And a thought is exactly the same. It's just a series of abstract ideas, words. So here we just start to dip into breaking the actual thought apart. This thought that we think has so much power is so disturbing to us. What is the thought actually made up of? Do we even know? Have we even ever looked at that? Such a simple question. What is a thought? Sometimes it might seem as if there's this monologue going on. But when we examine it closely, we find it's actually mainly just nonsense, just gobbledygook, words, phrases, nothing really tied together properly. The sensations in the body that somehow accompany those thoughts or ideas that we think we're having. And when we do this deep observation of thoughts, they seem to start to break down. Maybe for the first time, we see that there are just fragments, or a messy sort of collage, lots of different images, words, etc., quite badly glued together. we see there's not really any continuity in them even. They're not one long thought about the bill I've got to pay or something else that we seem to need to solve. Those thoughts are actually endless, tiny frames, just viewed as a continuous long story. And it maybe appears as if the thoughts are persistent and always there because the awareness that knows them is persistent and always there. And what happens is we tend to tangle up the ever present awareness or ever present knowing with the many small moments of thought that appear to it. They somehow become stuck together or appear to be stuck together. But the reality is that the thoughts are insubstantial. It's not that we're stuck as an anxious thinker. It's just that we're aware of many microscopic thoughts and we're somehow seeing them as a film, if you like, and we're labeling that film as an anxious film. But if I took any frame out of a film, I couldn't say that it was a horror film or a comedy film, just from looking at one or two individual frames. But at the base of it, that's really what the film is made up of. All these individual frames, which when put together or seen in a continuity, I label as pleasant, unpleasant, wanted or unwanted, and that's what we do with the thoughts. We clump them all together in a sort of long movie, and then we decide if we like them or not. So now just find the experience of your breath. Time flies when you're observing thoughts. Notice how now your breath is known. It's actually just, there's no such thing as breath or breathing. There's just lots of endless incidences of sound, muscle activity, sensation. Just like the thoughts, we clump them all together and call it a breath. But there's no one part of that is the breath. And there's no one part of that isn't part of the breath either. And just let that grow a little more active in whatever way you're judging that. Maybe it becomes a bit louder, or your muscles move a bit more freely. It feels as if the air goes a bit deeper into the lungs. Maybe feeling a gentle tingling or movement start to reappear in the fingers or the toes. That might grow slowly into a nice stretch or something that feels natural for you. You don't need to rush in any way. So these sort of practices, although that started and had elements of mindfulness in it, because we were very much observing without emotion, if you like, they would be what we call insight practices. They're quite important because they start to bring some insight or clarity on what's actually going on. You see, whereas in mindfulness, that insight might appear just by continued observation. If you continued that observation, you'd gradually see that everything you're experiencing is just an endless series of little experiences, and you're just clumping them together and labeling them. But sometimes it's useful just to actually direct our focus at that, at the temporary nature and the coming and going of these things. And we start to get this insight that actually, I thought I was having these really disturbing thoughts and I'm a very anxious person or a depressed person. But actually what I'm actually experiencing, there's a lot of actuallys, is just loads of little discrete moments that I'm somehow gluing together. But because the awareness of them is continuous, awareness never stops. I can't ever say there's a moment where I stopped being aware. There's just like a blank gap and I vanished. But so because the awareness is continuous, it appears as if the thoughts have this continuity about them. But actually there's just awareness of lots of little discrete moments of complete abstract nonsense for the most part. When we look at our thoughts, we're like, this is complete nonsense. I don't even know what this thing is. Apparently I'm thinking all the time, but I couldn't tell you what a single one of these things is. Apart from, I don't know, I'm trying to think of words, but I can't. All I can think of is like a collage on a wall that a kid has done with like bits of cut out newspaper and words and things, and that to me is a bit of a representation of what my thoughts actually seem to be.